Tesla. I don't know if you guys are Tesla fans, but I'm definitely one of them. I actually was one of the people who bought their stocks early back in the day when they were down at $20. We won't talk about that because that's a bad story. but I've been a fan since the Roadster. When they announced the Roadster, I was like, electric cars are finally here. Not that I'm not a fan of muscle cars or V8s or anything like that, but just something about electric cars just wows me because that's the future. I mean, technically speaking, they should have been out years ago with the EV1. I mean, even before the EV1. I don't know if any of you know about the Chevrolet EV1, but that was pretty much Chevy's electric vehicle. I forget when it came out, but it was years ago. And they were all pre-order. They were paid for. People were ready to pick them up. Then suddenly, Exxon bought out the patents, and pretty much GM had to recall and destroy all the EV1s. And instead, you know what they released? I don't know if you guys know your history, but they ended up releasing the H1 Hummer. Yes. So instead of a zero emissions electric vehicle, that's pretty much equivalent to today's Nissan Leaf. You pretty much could have owned the Nissan Leaf over 15 years ago at this point. But instead of releasing that, they scrapped everything and released the Hummer 1. And a lot of you know where that has went because they're no longer making Hummers anymore. And now we're back to square one again. So I'm surprised. I really got to hand it down to Elon Musk because a lot of the battery patents and the motor patents, a lot of the patents were bought out by the oil companies essentially, and they were preventing all these startup electric car firms from coming up. But tried and true in the last couple of years, he's really pushed through, and a lot of other people have too. There have been a lot of grassroots efforts, but he's really gotten it going, and I'm really happy that he's gotten where it's at now. Like for me, if I had the money, I would drop it right now and buy myself a P85D because that thing's a beast. I mean, a lot of people will talk about, like, I don't want to go too far into this, but I know a lot of people talk about range anxiety and, oh, it's not ready, it's not true zero carbon emissions, but yes, you're going to need energy. You're going to need to invest a lot of energy into producing renewable energy. I don't know if you understand, like, if you guys get that piece. People make the argument. It's like, well, all the resources that would take to make a bunch of solar panels and wind turbines, we can just make gasoline and just, run cheap power and cheap fuel. But that argument is it's just so dumb because you're so short-sighted. You're not looking at the longer picture. I mean, yes, like let's say you might have to use 5 years worth of fuel. I mean, this is a really rough estimate, but 5 years worth of fuel in order to make solar panels enough to cover, let's say, a neighborhood. And yes, the immediate cost is going to be high, but in the long run, it's going to pay off because it will last beyond that fossil fuel and still provide energy. And when you need to replace it, it's going to be easier to replace because as the years go by, the cost of building these things go down and down. It just gets easier and easier and it just makes more and more sense. I mean, just look at the solar panels right now. When Obama first took office back in '08, they were really expensive. Even with the government subsidies that they offered you, it was still pretty expensive to install on your roofs and everything. Let's fast forward 7 years. We have salesmen going around average neighborhoods selling these things. I'm about to go to Home Depot and buy $100 home solar kit and install in my garage, and that's gonna be enough to power the refrigerator in there. Like, that's insane. Like, it's gone down that much. Oh, Average Joe, welcome to the podcast. But going back to the Tesla, it's just like, when they first came out, people were like, $100,000 for an electric car, you gotta be out of your freaking mind. I understood the price. I mean, people need to understand where that price is coming from. It's not just because they're trying to make it back. They're still losing money on those. But if they gotta start somewhere. When a technology firm comes out, the first product are usually not profit making. It's to pretty much get their foot in the door, get them out into the market, and start selling getting the the popularity up, because they released the P85, then they released two different variations of it, so you can get one for $85,000. And fast forward 2 years, they're already working on a second and third model, and they built a factory so they can lower the price even more because they can start producing these batteries at a higher, more cost-effective rate. And now, if for those of you who don't know, they announced that next year, March 2016, they're going to be releasing the consumer version of the Tesla. So I think the Model C, but we'll see what it is eventually called. It's going to be priced around $30,000, which is comparable to, let's say, the current Nissan Leaf or a base Hyundai Genesis. It doesn't even cost us, pretty much now a base Mercedes costs more than that, but think of it like a souped up Sonata or Camry. They're around $30,000. For that price, you can get an all-electric vehicle with some amenities and some luxuries, and most likely the same range as you're getting now. So anywhere from 200 to 250 mile range on a single charge for $30,000. I'm on board. My vehicle's almost paid off. I might just hold off and just wait until next year and trade it in for that, because for me, electric cars make sense. And I don't know if I know a lot of people have harsh arguments against me about it, but at the end of the day, they make sense for not everyone, but a lot of people. Because if you really think about it, my commute is about 40 minutes to an hour one way, so anywhere upwards to 1 hour and a half to 2 hours per day I have to drive for my commute. That's still way less than 200 miles. I calculate that I could even go get a Nissan Leaf right now, and that would still be adequate enough for my day-to-day functions. And I will still have enough charge to, if I wanted to go to the movies afterwards or restaurant, go shopping, I would still have plenty of charge. But now you double that plus more, that's plenty of charge for me. I mean, I know I go on road trips. I know I do. But do I do them every day? No, they happen once in, not even a blue moon, once a year or once a season. But if you guys look at it, they're vastly expanding the supercharger network. They're increasing the charge speeds. It's just making more and more sense every year. Because what's funny, at first, there's so many things against it. There really was. Even I was like, all right, you guys need to work on this and that. 2 years later, they've addressed most of it. I mean, even the battery swap thing. You don't want to sit there for 30 minutes for your car to charge? Fine, we'll swap the battery out in 2 minutes. For a brand new one, fully charged. That's... it's so awesome. Even current P85 owners, I don't know if any of you, my subscribers, have a Tesla, I'd be really quite envious, but even they say they've had it for 2 years and they love it. I mean, the fact that with every software update, the car changes. It's no longer about buying a new part or anything. It's simple, the car will upgrade to the new version by simply submitting a download. That's insane. I mean, I love it. And thankfully, I was fortunate enough to test drive it. And a lot of people are like, oh, different per se. But it's definitely, it's slightly different. I mean, go and brake. I mean, that's pretty, the accelerate and brake, it's the same concept. But it's pretty much engine braking when you release your foot off the pedal. And that's something that I had to get used to, because the car is technically slowing down without you braking. And I mean, that's obviously the car regenerating power when you're just rolling, but I kind of liked it because I was test driving it for about 15-20 minutes. I was able to drive, but after the first 2 minutes, I got used to it. It's really quick and easy. It really is. It's like people say it's like riding a bike, and then now it's like riding a bike with a motor on. You can choose to pedal, or you can just press the little button and go. I mean, that's a horrible analogy, but I gotta tell you, folks, I did the P85 Plus, the performance version, and damn, that thing accelerates I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to sit in a GTR or anything, but a coworker of mine had a Corvette Z06, and that thing had some mad torque. But this thing is just a different sense of speed and power. For those of you who have the opportunity to go test drive it. I really recommend it. But I'm excited. I hope you guys are. That Tesla, yes, you may, if you watch the markets, yeah, they're up and down, and sometimes they had a scare of a bankruptcy apparently. All that aside, the electric car market is growing. It's not falling anymore. It is growing year over year over year. And the fact that Tesla opened up the patents. So literally, you at home, if you could buy the parts, you can just make it and start selling your own version of the Tesla to the world if you want it, and they wouldn't sue you because they opened up the patent. They are challenging the market to just go for it. I love that. In this day and age when it's all competitive, cutthroats to make profits and to get rich, damn, no. Oh, Mo Knight. No, I do not drive a GTR. Hell no. I drive a Hyundai Sonata 2011. Yeah. No, I said I wished I could drive a GTR because I really want to experience that 0 to 60 in 2.9, 2.7 seconds. Oh god, aside from the Tesla, for me, it's like if I ever struck it rich or if I ever won the lottery, I would buy the Nissan GTR Nismo. I mean, yes, I could go buy the Ferrari or no. I want the Nismo. I don't know why. It's just I love the GTR. I just do. I mean, it might be a different story if I ever like own one, but you know, I'm never gonna own one. Forget that. Whatever. I'm happy with my little Hyundai. Maybe a Genesis Coupe one day. Hopefully, if you know my career goes well, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Oh, James D, welcome. Good evening, sir. Good evening. But yes, excited for your Tesla. That's awesome. I can't wait for it to be here. So we'll see.